Never take life for granted. Shit real. I got issues for what I've been through, but then again, if I give you my all, it's genuine. You ain't never lived a life if you never took a loss. If I die tonight, everything I ever own, you can take it all. Put my pain in this music until the song hurting. Ever gave your heart to the wrong person? If I love you, just keep it tall with me. And in return, you get rewards from me. 5-star dinners, shopping sprees and long trips. Booked a short stay with your bae in the A and gave a long...
This Hoffa, trapper turn smack rapper. Only smack rapper that you know is smack rapper.
You ever paid a guest, they didn't like the interview and they hit you back and asked you to take it down?
Scott Disick.
Wow.
Scott Disick.
Wow.
We had agreed on a fee to do an interview and also a feature on his cars at his house in Hidden Hills. And the guy who set it up just did it. He was Scott's business partner on the real estate side, and me and him were kind of forming a friendship, and he just did it just for free to just help me out, right? So we go to his house, we set up, we do the interview, and he's like, wait, I didn't think this was going to be an interview, because I remember leading up to it, I realized he has no interviews.
Right.
He's just never done an interview, period.
Right.
And he's a fairly well-known guy, right? He's Courtney's baby father, right? You know, he's keeping up the Kardashians, everything else like that. Right. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be kind of a big deal. This will be his first kind of life story kind of piece. So we're going through this whole, and he's like, man, I didn't know I was going to do this. Like, I don't really like talking about this. I don't want, Kanye came up, oh no, I don't want to talk. No, and he was just sort of like in pain the whole time or whatever else. Yeah. So we get through that. It's not the greatest, interview I've ever done. So then we go and do the car feature. And at that point, he kind of like, he gets more excited, he perks up, and he's doing the whole car feature, whatever else. So we're done. I pay him. He signs the release forms, everything else like that. So the guy who set up the interview called me up and was like, Scott just screamed at me for the last 3 hours. He's super pissed off. He didn't realize this was going to be like an interview. He doesn't know about Vlad TV. I think I probably didn't explain it to him well enough either. He's just super mad. And then Scott's lawyers sent us this email asking for like 2/3 of the interview to be cut out. But my thing is like, you took the money, you signed the release form, all this doesn't really matter, right? But because of the relationship of the guy who set it up, I didn't want to put him in the middle of it. So I said, okay, look, let's do this. Have him give back, the interview was the main part of what we were going to do. The car feature was just extra. Have him give back 2/3 of the appearance fee, and we'll just run the car feature. Coming back and said, come by tomorrow, I'll give you the cash. So yeah. So there was, to answer your question, someone who did pay, who was paid, wanted it down, but they had to give back the majority of the money in order to do that. And everyone understood that. It was ultimately just a fair business move. And we still lost money on the interview, but it was something that I ultimately, agreed to do, and it is what it is.
What you were saying about the Cam and Elliot Wilson, though?
Well, when we were having this whole conversation, I mean, everything we're talking about, right? Like interviews, podcasting, all that stuff, kind of was like...
kind of ran through the whole thing. And how like the journalist side of things is kind of played out now. It's not... I mean, it's different. We're entering an era where, names supersede skill a lot of times. But you know what? I can't even say that because I watched Elliot Wilson on Cam's platform, the You're Welcome Network. He did the interview.
He was sweating duck sauce and all that?
No, but to be honest, it looked like Cam was schooling Elliot to how things are going now. And I agreed with a lot of the things that Cam was saying. And there's a realization there where, okay, back in the days, this was your job, this is your skill, but it's not the interest now. there isn't a space for your skill. There's just a space for views. And everyone's competing for views. And if this name doing the interview means more than you doing the interview, then your skills are kind of like, you know, it's played out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot less platforms 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're the source, you have the luxury of setting the rules.
Yep.
Because what's the competition? Double XL, Vibe, sort of, because Vibe is a little more R&B.
Yeah.
Then we got the rap pages, the Murder Dog, kind of the smaller independent outlets and so forth. But the source at one point was
the only place.
The only place. So you guys could decide how to function in terms of journalism, what rules you set, and everybody is ultimately going to fall in line. I mean, how many issues have started over the years over someone not getting a cover?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I remember when I interviewed Elliot, he told me how Diddy, you know, because his wife at the time, you know, his wife, who was the editor-in-chief of Vibe at the time, had done a cover shoot with Diddy, and Diddy showed up and said, I want to see the cover.
Right.
She said no, and he started to threaten her.
Right. And she wrote about that.
She wrote about that. This was a bit, it just shows how important you guys were at that time and how the covers were a make it or break it kind of thing. I mean, in fact, like you talk to someone like Tretch from Naughty by Nature, he feels that Vibe is the reason over the East Coast, West Coast beef because of that cover. No one was saying that until Vibe coined East versus West with Biggie and Puffy on the cover.
Right.
If that cover never happened, things may have turned out differently.
Right.
You know, and all the violence.
But
I don't know. To coin it like that suddenly, where like you hear these stories of like
the media played a role.
The media played a role.
Yes.
And sensationalized.
Sensationalized to the point where East Coast and West Coast rappers were getting into violent altercations that didn't even have any beef, but they just happened to be representing those coasts.
That is true. Yep.
And, you know, like I said, we're at the era right now where there's so many outlets and there's new ones popping up every day. You can't set those types of rules. You have to understand the bigger picture. And sometimes it means like, in terms of true journalism, it's not exactly that.
Right. It's very different these days. Yeah. So I understand that. Like, I actually thought that their conversation was really interesting. Cam and Elliot's conversation. A little too serious for me. I like to see Mace eating the popcorn more so, but that's probably why we are where we are. I kind of watched it. I almost felt like after a couple minutes, I had to watch it. I was like, let me finish. I got to finish watching this because it's about journalism. But I'd rather look at this BS over here or some, you know, more entertaining.
Man, I think Elliot should have stood on his shit, man.
Yeah,
yo, if you feel that way, you feel that way. Let him know, like, yo, you know, this shit is whack. I used to be the man doing this shit. Now everybody taking my job. Fuck all you niggas. He should have went out like Tupac. He should have went out like Tupac.
But Elliot has
said on the Rory. See, when Elliot got into the like conversation with Cam, he apologized. He said, he basically was like, look, I jumped out the window when I did the interview, right?
He's done that before. He did that with Keyz Sanat.
Yeah.
You know,
only because of the backlash he got. If he didn't get no backlash, he would have stood.
You think?
Man,
absolutely.
Listen, man, if that's how you feel, it is what it is.
Sometimes you gotta stand
no pun intended.
No pun intended.
If I was Elliot, I would have went on there with the questions that I feel like should have been asked that wasn't asked. And just kind of establish why I have this skill and you don't. You know what I'm saying? Bro, if you want to be critical about people and taking your job, then show us how you do it better.
Can someone take your job?
Of course they can.
They can.
Of course they can.
Well, I don't think so. I think that you allow other people to take your job
There we go.
because you don't step up.
There we go.
Right.
Or you don't change.
And
or you don't change with the times.
You don't evolve.
Right, you don't evolve, right.
And that's what I'm saying.
You know, eventually dinosaurs no longer rule the earth.
Say that again.
Tell us Joy Taylor in the gang, man.
No, listen. And I'm cool with Elliot. He was on my show
yeah,
recently. Me and him have a long-term relationship and everything else like that. So I respect what Elliot did. I mean, look, you could say that under his watch, that's when Double XL became the prominent hip hop platform.
Absolutely.
right? You could give that to him. I didn't say he was the editor-in-chief when it first started, but he took over coming from the source, and he's the one that took it to new heights. So you got to give him his accolades. But the world has changed.
He had his run.
Well, no, he can still have his run. I mean, his run
shelf life.
I think that, listen, all of us have a frustration that we can't get the interviews that we want to do.
Right.
You know, if you're really serious about it, when you see someone that you know that, you know, that you feel is in the same space and they get an interview that you've been trying to get, you get a little mad, you know, internally.
Competitiveness.
It's competitive.
Sometimes. I mean, there's been a couple of times somebody was supposed to come here, they canceled, and I seen them on another platform, and I was like,
yeah, it's annoying.
Fuck it, whatever.
It's annoying, but you also can't, you know, I realize over time, this is why I always have other people talk for me sometimes, because when I get on the phone with people, it doesn't usually go well. You know, it's usually better if I let other people coordinate stuff and so forth, because I get too emotional when it comes to certain things. It turns into screaming matches and all types of shit. I start calling people out on their bullshit. Usually after that,
you know this bullshit, right?
They don't want to talk anymore.
Speaking of conversations, you recently had a conversation with somebody. You said, I think you gave hint about this on.
Yeah. Me and Suge Knight talked on the phone.
I just want to get right to it. Look. No introductions, no interruptions. When I roll into functions, just know that it's tucked in, like I wore a tux in. Say hello to Justin. Justin for making something out of nothing. Mama told me I'm a star. Them haters said I wasn't. Now I'm looking at a mugging from a V-dozen shrugging. Feeling like McLovin, I'm becoming a conundrum. These dum-dums forgot where I come from. There's nothing that we run from. BK, niggas know the status. Got like 2 spots in the top 3 rappers.